Hello, everyone. It's so great to be able to do art with you today. My name is Miss Alicia, and I'm excited that we get to do some creative, fun activities today. So let's get started.
Okay, so the title of our book today is Grandma's Tiny House, a counting story by Janay Brown-Wood and illustrated by Priscilla Burris. So I really like this story because it reminds me of the times of the year in which we can spend time with our family, having special gatherings and celebrations. And it's one of my favorite things to do with my family. I also like this story because it helps us practice our counting. So let's see what this story entitled Grandma's Tiny House, a counting story, is all about. Before we start to read, can you see who this is? This is Grandma, and this is the child. And we have a pet cat here and a pet dog. And look, two bees. All right, let's see what this story is all about. Okay. All right, just getting the book situated. All right, Grandma's Tiny House, a counting story. Tiny in size, at the edge of Brown Street, sits Grandma's old house where we all go to meet. Look, there's Grandma waiting in the window for her family. Grandma's house stays small as the family grows. Will everyone fit inside? Who knows? Look at all of these photographs of Grandma's family. Wow, she has a big family. Raise your hand if you have a lot of different family members: brothers, cousins, siblings, sisters, brothers, grandparents. And then here's the cat and dog. One grandma waits in her big easy chair, while two turkeys send scrumptious smells through the air. So one, two turkeys. Three neighbors knock on the brown wooden door with four pots of hot greens and ham hocks galore. Let's count the neighbors. One, two, three neighbors, and let's count the pots of food. One, two, three, four. They're off to a good start. Let's see what else happens and who's coming. Five family members strut straight up the stairs with 6 dozen biscuits and jam made of pears. Let's count these family members. One, two, three, four, and five. These are family friends. And let's count the 6 dozen of biscuits. One, two, three, four, five, six. Seven cool uncles stroll up in a line with 8 jugs of lemonade, ice cold and fine. Let's count the uncles. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Are you counting with me? I'm sure you are because you know how to count. You know your numbers. Let's count the lemonade. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. 8 jugs of lemonade. Then it says 9 chatting aunties all head for the den and set down the cheesecakes that add up to 10. Let's count the aunts. One, two, three, four, five, six, 7, 8, 9. 9. And let's count the cheesecakes that add up to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Raise your hand if you have aunties and uncles. I love my aunties and uncles. Okay, you can put your hands down. Let's see who else is coming to Grandma's tiny house. 11 nephews joined, slapping high fives and fumbling 12 sweet potato pies. Wow, look at all of the nephews holding the sweet potato pies. I love sweet potato pie. 13 thrilled nieces burst on the scene with 14 fresh honeydew, juicy and green. I'm going to turn my light just a bit, see if it will remove the glare. Okay. All right, so let's look at our 13 nieces and 14 honeydew. We're going to count the honeydew this time. Count with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Wow. And who is that running? Last but not least, 15 hungry grandkids stampede to the feast. Look at all of the grandkids coming to Grandma's tiny house. 15. That's when the walls budge. There is no more space. How will we all eat in this too tiny place? Look at all of the family. It's so many of them. And they are very close together because Grandma's house is very tiny. When you get together with your family, is it a lot of people like this? This is how it looks when I get together with my family, because we have lots of people in our family. Okay. I know. We've stuffed this old house, but the yard's long and wide. Why don't we move our big dinner outside? Do you think that's a good idea? I think it's a good idea because there's so many people in Grandma's tiny house. So let's see what happens when they move outside. So out skip the neighbors, nephews, and nieces, while uncles and aunts lug dinnerware pieces. Friends grab the tables, grandkids grab the chairs, the rest bring the food down Grandma's back stairs. So everybody's setting up in the backyard so they'll have more space to eat. Perfect in size at the edge of Brown Street, sit Grandma's backyard where we all go to eat. Look, everybody's outside having a great time, and they have plenty of space now to enjoy each other's company. So I really like this story because it makes me think about all of the times that I gather with my family. It also helps me to practice counting, and it also helps me to think about my cousins and my aunts and my uncles and my grandparents and my parents and just everybody in my family. Now, do you notice that in this family there are people of all ages? Also, there are very good friends that are in this family because our friends are also like our family. So, our art today is going to be inspired by that story, Grandma's Tiny House, as well as this artist whose name is Clementine Hunter. She was a very interesting painter who taught herself how to paint. So I'm bringing up my examples a little bit closer so you can see what she looks like. See, she worked on a plantation, and this is a picture of her holding one of the animals from the plantation, and she painted lots of pictures of different buildings and structures and celebrations that happened on that particular that land. Okay, so you see how she painted this tiny house. See all of the people that she painted, as well as here's another tiny house that she painted with people who are working. This is how people used to wash clothes in big large pots in which they would boil the water and then stir the clothes around in the water. Here's someone else hanging up some laundry, and then here's someone back here maybe getting ready to cut down a tree or trim some bushes. But there's also a smaller house that's further back from this house here. And Clementine Hunter was a person who loved creating paintings of her life and of the activities that happened on the land that she lived on. She actually got her art materials from an artist who came to visit that plantation and left art supplies there. So it inspired her to use them to create her own works of art. And she painted hundreds and hundreds of paintings, so many paintings. She also painted on the walls of some of the buildings on that land. And then she was able to have her own art show before she passed away. She was able to share her art with lots of people so that they could see how colorful and exciting her art was. So, just like she put tiny houses in her artwork, and our story is about Grandma's tiny house, we're going to create our own little tiny house artwork. And we're going to use some of the same types of shapes that we see here in Clementine Hunter's artwork, like squares and rectangles. And we're going to use some of the same colors. And just like the artist did in the artwork and the artist who made the pictures for the book, we're going to also add some people to our tiny house. Okay? So let's get started with the art portion of our art lesson. Okay, so now we're going to get ready to make our own little tiny house. And we are going to be using some of my favorite geometric shapes. A geometric shape has corners and sides and sometimes edges that connect together. So I'm going to point to the shape, and I want you to tell me the name of the shape when I point to it, because I know you know your shapes. You all are so smart. Okay, what shape is this? Very good. It's a circle. What shape is this? It's a square. Can you help me count my squares? I have 1, 2, 3, 4 squares. What shapes are these two? These are rectangles. Very good. I have 2 rectangles. One is orange and the other one is white. And then my black shape over here is called a trapezoid. Can you say trapezoid? It has 4 corners and 4 sides. Okay. All right, so we're going to use these shapes. We're going to glue them together to make a collage on the front of our house. Then we're going to turn our house on the other side and we're going to do some drawing. Okay, so I have my glue stick here, And I'm going to pick up my white rectangle and I'm going to open it up, because you'll notice that the paper is folded on the two sides. And the reason why the paper is folded on the two sides is because when we're done, we want our house to stand up like that. Okay? All right, so we're going to glue our shapes to this white rectangle that we now have opened it up. I'm going to move it over here. And I am going to start with adding my squares. So I'm going to open up the glue stick. I'm going to keep it short. Can you see how short I have it? Okay, so I'm going to keep it kind of short. And then I'm going to put one square on this section. So you see where the fold is? I'm going to put one square right here. So I'm going to put some glue. I'm going to hold with my fingers. And I'm going to rub a layer of glue on there just like that. Then I'm going to put it right on the house. So we're going to use these squares for windows. So in this middle section, this is a bigger rectangle on this folded white rectangle. So this is a bigger one. So I'm going to put two squares in the middle. Okay? So I'm going to put a layer of glue on the back of that, just like that. Then I'm going to put more glue on the second square for that section. So put some glue there. And remember, whenever we glue pieces of paper to another piece of paper to make a picture, we call that a collage. So the reason I like squares and rectangles so much is because they are really good shapes to start with when you are drawing and making art. Both of these shapes have 4 edges and 4 corners, but they are different because the sides or edges on the square are all the same length. But the sides or edges on a rectangle, which we can see with this rectangle, 2 are the same length, and then the other 2 are a little bit smaller, but they are also the same length. So that's what makes a rectangle different from a square. So we're going to use the orange rectangle in the middle, and that's going to be the door for our house. So I'm going to turn it over and rub some glue on the back. And then put that right in the middle of the middle section of the folded paper, just like that. Okay? So can you see how this is starting to look like a house? Now, people live in different places. Some people live in houses that are separate. Some people live in houses that are connected. Some people live in houses that we call apartments. Some people live in mobile homes. The places that we live and call home look very different and unique. And the family that we share our houses and homes with is what's most important. So, now that we have all of our squares and our rectangle glued to the white paper, we are going to fold in this side and fold in that side and press it with our fingers. Let's press it down. Just like that, so that this way we're just seeing the front of the house. Now we're going to use this shape, this black trapezoid, to be the roof. So what we're going to do this time is we're going to take the glue stick and run it across the top of the white rectangle. So I put glue right across there. Then I'm going to take the edge of that shape, that black shape, and I'm going to press it down and rub my finger across so I can make sure that it's sticking there, just like that. And how many shapes do we have left to glue? Can you see? Okay, 1. We have the circle. So I'm going to take my circle and put it right at the top because that's going to be a window for the top floor of the house. So I'm going to put some glue there, and I'm going to glue that right to the middle of the house, or the roof rather, just like that. Okay. So there we go. So now we're going to use our oil pastels to do a little drawing. We can also use our colored pencils. So I'm going to start with the oil pastels, and I'm going to use one of the bright colors to do some drawing. I'm going to draw some more lines, and I'm going to make these squares into smaller squares. Watch how I do it. So I'm going to use the color purple. I like this color purple. This is my oil pastel here. And I'm going to draw a vertical line. That's a line that goes up and down in the middle of the square. Then I'm going to draw a horizontal line. That's a line that goes from left to right. So that I divided that window into 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to do the same thing on this window. Okay. So now I have 4 squares. I'm going to do the same thing on my circular window that's at the top. Now you can use whatever color oil pastel you want to divide your window if you want to. If you want to draw another type of line or shape inside your windows, you can. Then for the rectangle at the bottom, that's our door, I am going to use the color blue. And I am going to draw a circle for the doorknob so that you can come into the house. And I'm going to draw 2 rectangles, just like this. I'm using 2 lines, and these almost look like a square. It's very close to a square. I'm going to draw right here. And if I want to color that doorknob in, I can. Then I'm going to take my colored pencils, and I'm just going to color in the door. If you want to use your oil pastels to color in, you can do that too. So I'm going to color in the door. I don't know why I like this blue and orange, but I do. They are colors that go together very well. We call these complementary colors, blue and orange. Okay. Then I'm going to draw around the door with my colored pencil what's called a door pane. So I'm just drawing lines around the door. And then, if I want to, I can take an oil pastel and I can draw some little bushes. And I'm just doing a squiggly line. These are like the bushes that sit in front of some houses. Some houses and some buildings have green bushes and flowers and plants to make the outside of the building or house look nicer. It looks prettier when you add a little bit of nature in there. Then I'm going to use my white oil pastel, and I'm just going to color a little bit in each window. You can use whatever colors you like. And if you want to use a color pencil to color the whole outside of the house, you can do that too. Alright, then I want to add some lines to the roof. So I can do a wavy line, or I can do a zigzag line, but I'm going to do a scalloped line. That's a line that curves like a wave in the water. But you can put a straight line, or you don't have to put any lines at all. You get to decorate the house the way that you want it to look. Okay, so I can keep going and add in decorations to the outside of my house. Remember, when I open it up, I also have my side windows. Now, for my side windows, I'm going to use a different color to divide those squares into 4 parts. Okay, just like that. Just like that. Okay. All right. So that's the front of my house, and if I set it up, it looks like that. See? And I can also set it up like that. Okay. Now, when I turn my house over, look, it's empty on the inside. Let me turn it around this way. It's empty on the inside. So, this is where we're going to add the people. And I would like to call this house today, even though it's a tiny house, it's our house of gratitude. We are thankful because we're going to show some of the people from our family and even our friends that we are thankful for. That's another thing that happens during this time of the year. We really start to think about how thankful we are for our family and our friends, our teachers, and other important people in our family, in our lives rather. So if you want to add some other people that you're grateful for inside your little tiny house of gratitude, you can do that. And we're going to make them very, very simple. We're going to use our pencils to do this, or you can use the oil pastels, whichever one you prefer. And we're going to make them very, very simple. We're just going to use shapes, and I want you to think of 3 people. Now, if you want to put more people, you can do that too. But right now, we're just going to focus on 3 people. So, I'm going to put a circle for my mom, and a circle for my sister, and a circle for my husband. Now, I have other important family members too, like my dad and my grandparents. I'm just starting with these 3 people. So I drew a circle for each person's face. See how I did that? Now I'm going to use some simple shapes to draw their body. So I'm going to use a rectangle for each person to draw the top of their bodies. So I'm going to draw a rectangle. And then for my mom, let's see, I'll use this color, purple. And again, if you want to use your oil pastels, you can use those too to draw 3 people that you are grateful for. So then I'm going to use 2 rectangles for the legs for each person. I'm going to use 2 rectangles. And then I can use rectangles for the arms, and I'm going to use ovals. I think I'm going to give all of them orange shoes. I don't know why I want to give them orange shoes, but I'm going to use ovals for the feet. Oh boy. So I'm going to use these trapezoid and quadrilateral shapes for the arms. You can draw your 3 people that you're grateful for any way that you want to. I'm just showing you an easy way to draw them. And as I said, if you have more time, you can draw more people. You can draw people here and here. And so I'm going to go in now and I'm going to give them some simple eyes and a nose and a mouth. I'm going to use little dots and lines for their faces. I bet you can draw a lot more detail than this. So I want you to draw some of your favorite people. Oh, I forgot. That one is my husband, but that's okay because he has a little afro. So I'm going to use a squiggly line for his hair. I'm going to give him some little eyebrows. And then my sister, she has twisty hair. I'm going to give her some eyebrows. And my mom has shorter hair. So I'm going to draw her. So very, very simple. We're making these very, very simple. If you want to add some more details, you can add more details. So I'm going back in now, adding a little bit more detail. Her hair is twisty. My mom's hair is shorter, and my husband has curly hair at the top. I'm making his hair a little bit curlier than normal, but that's okay. So I'm going to go back in with my colored pencil and color in their faces. And I'm going to color. And remember, these are people that we are thankful and grateful for. I have so many more people I could draw. My best friend, my other friends, my cousins, some of my favorite aunties and uncles, some people that I grew up with. So I'm just coloring in the shoes. Okay. Remember in the story in Grandma's tiny house, the house was too small once all the family came. Have you ever been with your family and it felt like the house was too small because it was so many people? I love that though. It's one of my favorite feelings, to just be able to have everybody close and talking. And since everything has happened with the pandemic, family is even more special when we get to spend time with them. Okay, so as I said, you have more space, you can add more people, but this is our little tiny house, okay, that we can sit right up. It will sit right up on the table. And I'm going to go back in and maybe add some flowers to my little bushes. And if you want to, if you have a pet that you're grateful for, maybe you can draw a little puppy or cat outside the house or inside the house. So I'm drawing some little flowers here. And if I want to, I can put some grass. I can just keep decorating my little tiny house of gratitude. So thankful for our family, for our home, for life. We are thankful. All right, so now that we have decorated our little tiny house of gratitude, we're going to compare it now to the artwork by Clementine Hunter. And I'm going to fold this back in like that and press it down. It'll sit flat. And to the artwork by the illustrator from the story Grandma's Tiny House. All right, so I really looked at Clementine Hunter's little tiny house in her painting here with all of the people around the painting. You see the trees and the grass, and she even has little flowers like I did on my painting. So that's similar. Our roof, the shapes and colors of our roof looks the same. She also has squares and rectangles on the front of that little white house, just like I have on mine. And you have some squares and rectangles on yours as well. They're also different. Mine, of course, is bigger because the picture is smaller, but I have more details with the windows and the doors. And she has more details with the lines to represent the house supporting the roof. Okay? How about her people? Do you notice how they are made with simple shapes? just like I did my people. And let's bring in the book too. Remember Grandma's Tiny House? On that first page of the story, I'm going to put my house here. On the first page of the story, do you see what I decided to do was to add a scalloped line? See that? Just like the illustrator did in Grandma's Tiny House accounting story. I did the same thing. And then on the picture here, there's only the door is here to the side, but my door is in the middle. But we do both have doorknobs. And then the shape of the window is a rectangle, but the shape of my two windows here are squares. At the top, we have another rectangle, but I have a circle at the top of mine. So those are some ways that it's different. Do you see how Grandma's house has bushes and a little tree? I have bushes on mine. So we see how they look similar and how they look different, as well as, let me pull in the paintings by Clementine Hunter. And then there's the little tiny house of gratitude, so we can see all of them together. I hope that you enjoyed this lesson. I'm so grateful and thankful for you and for the opportunity to make art with you and to share with you ways to be creative and to use all of the things that you're learning about, counting and shapes and colors, to make art. So I hope you enjoyed the lesson, as I said, and I look forward to making art with you again. Bye.